Thank you, Steve. Disclaimer, we do not have Quaaludes in Dramamine. Before I get in trouble back at the office. But I'm here to talk about the refresh of Dramamine, and I changed the name of the presentation, which you'll see is different in the program, because really the hero here is a creative. And I think it really shines through, and it's kind of my co-host for this entire presentation. So I'm going to take you back 75 years to the launch of Dramamine. And Dramamine was an accidental invention, and it was perfectly timed with the advent of travel and when people were just taking commercial flights. And the experience was not what we have today. It was oily, bumpy, didn't feel like it does today. Who remembers the smoking section in airplanes? And so it really was a timely invention. And even 70 years later, and this is pre-COVID, we had a leading market share, 56% share of motion sickness, and also 15% of nausea. And nausea is a little broader than motion. Obviously, motion is a type of nausea, but nausea is bigger, and we had 15% share, and this is pre-COVID. I don't have to tell anyone in the room what happened when COVID happened. We all did not sit here, and we all, travel came to a halt, and these are, I know the scale is, the numbers aren't here, but this is true figures from the New York Times of what happened with airline travel in 2020. And still by December, you could see it was way less than when it started. The brand was impacted in a major way. I mean, the brand tanked. And everyone's brand, obviously was impacted by COVID, but this brand really was just so in line with travel that we really were exposed. And so obviously travel bounced back, our brand bounced back with it, but we really had an inflection point of what were we were kind of a passenger in a category that we were the leader, and we weren't leading. And so we needed to take a look at, okay, we're leader, we need to lead this category, no one's gonna do it for us, and we deserve to do that. And so we really went from a passenger to a driver and had to rethink how we were gonna go about it. So we looked at our barriers. Our first barrier was we equaled motion sickness. So if motion stops, our brand tanks, and we already experienced that. The second thing is we were seen as a medicine. So especially post-COVID, people were actually not wanting to take medicine. They wanted to take preventative and supplements, and medicine's like, for some people, a dirty word. And so we were seen as just so medicinal, especially for children, when we had lots of products that weren't medicines and aren't even, they're dietary supplements, and so we needed to talk about that. And the last is we didn't have a whole lot of money. So you can imagine after the brand tanked, the money kind of, went to other brands at Prestige, and we had to regain our money. But also we still didn't even have a lot of it. I mean, the category was seen as this finite thing that, I could either take money and give it to Dramamine, or I could take money and give it to something else that has like expandable consumption. So we had to recognize that we didn't have a lot of money. We needed to punch above our weight. So where did we start? We needed to reintroduce ourselves, and we needed a fresh voice. And you can see here, this is our ad, kind of pre-COVID. I mean, not the most enjoyable, and super monotonous category. So this is digestive health of, kind of the big guns. The categories like claims and a sea of sameness and very problem solution, and we wanted to break out of that.
I'll just like lay here and just kind of.
It was jalapeno linguine.
But it just comes out and it sprays all over Felipe.
It's just this queasy, uneasy, awful.
Are you good?
Yep. Yep.
And it came through my nose, like.
Okay, so we started with a universal truth. There is nothing more dramatic than throwing up. It's like when your body betrays you. We all know this feeling. I hear all the laughter. It's like you have no control over your body. And we wanted to cut through to that universal truth in a way that's human and relatable. So we introduced the Drama Llama. And as Steve said, I don't want to give, I'll show you the llama, but we started with a regular ad, and it completely snowballed and morphed into something more.
You get motion sick like last time? Blue cheese and broccoli casserole, tight squeeze. That'll sit well. Are you sweating? Not again, Carl! Talk about action-packed and nausea-inducing. This'll be fun. Road trip! Isn't this great? Love a good fair. Think they're nauseous yet? Just going around and around. Think I should join the mileage plan? Smell that?
Thank you. Thank you. So, as Steve said, we let the llama loose, including on TikTok. That was our phrase at work, let the llama loose. And you can see here, obviously it started with the videos that you saw, but then we put him on TikTok. We started with the ads actually have a real llama. Then you saw some static llama. Then we had an AI llama because we just couldn't even keep up with the llama creative that was needed. And this quote is what made us choose the llama. So we had 3 ads that went into like a quant-qual kind of testing, and the llama did not win in the quant. And we heard someone say, I don't know if I love him or hate him, I just know I can't stop thinking about him. And this was a week after the quant test, and we just said, we've got something here and we gotta go with it. The results in the beginning, and I know we've been talking about results for the last day, and so I wanted to put some in. And, we measured a lot of things, but someone mentioned new to brand yesterday. I mean, that's what we're looking for. New users to the website, up 22% when the llama came to town. And that was huge for our brand because no one comes to the Dramamine site unless you're very sick. Then we said, okay, now we have this llama, we had a paid campaign that was doing well, but we needed to be inserted more into lifestyle, and we needed to break through and not be seen as medicine, like I mentioned. And a paid llama is just not gonna get you into conversations and earn media. And so we decided that that wasn't enough and we needed to go further. And we needed to be cool and be culturally relevant. And so what is cooler than Captain Lee and Bravo? So we partnered with Captain Lee, and we rode the wave of the travel season. And every year we were doing this trip of a lifetime post-COVID where you can win a dream vacation, and there's signups, but we inserted Captain Lee to get that cool factor to get places we hadn't been before. And you can see here just tremendous earned media. I mean, Dramamine was never gonna be an Us Weekly. So it just got us out of, Medicine Today and things that were very tried and true for the brand, and into conversations like OK and Us Weekly and things like that. And again, we just saw really nice growth. So we had 40% increase in the sweepstakes signups versus the year before. That was the only difference, was obviously we had the llama before it, we had Captain Lee. We had 12% increase in sales, which was amazing and surpassing the travel rebound that we were seeing inherently. Almost 3 billion media impressions just in less than 6 months. So we had some really great momentum. So with the wind in our sails, the time was now to mine for more opportunity, and we just kept being like, how can we take this further? How can we take this further? And the agency was just amazing, and they would come to us with ideas. And we were ready to put an end to nausea, and we wanted to, make our money go farther, like I mentioned. 1949 was a big year for barf, and so we went back to our history. And did you know, not only was it the invention of Dramamine, but it was an invention of the barf bag. And coincidentally, our sales and our rise in sales actually is conversely impacting the barf bag usage. And so we felt a duty as a brand to do something where we needed to reinvent the barf bag usage because we were killing an industry, and we felt a big responsibility as a brand. And so we made a film, a 12-minute film. The film launched April 3rd, like a month ago. And it's a tribute to a cultural icon. So it's a story about these barf bag collectors, and it's also a story about the barf bag itself. And it was, I mean, everyone that works with our brand worked on this. It was pretty amazing to have every agency, brand team work together. This was 3 months. They showed us the idea at the end of December. The film launched April 3rd. I've never seen anything like this.
Dear Dramamine, I'm writing you on behalf of the barf bag community. We've noticed for a while that quality barf bags are getting harder to find. People rarely use them anymore, and they certainly don't appreciate them. Your product works well, but we wonder if it maybe works a little too well.
Would you say that Dramamine is killing the barf bag?
Man, Dramamine sucks.
If they died, they should die with dignity.
It was jalapeno linguine.
But it just comes out and it sprays all over Felipe.
Right now I've got 7,500 different ones.
Who has Dramamine been hurting for 75 years? Barf bag collectors.
To collect something that no one else collects.
Apparently you throw up and then disappear.
That was so cool.
Yeah.
It's bigger than the brand.
It's a great exhibition. This is fabulous.
You never know what to expect when you enter into a barf museum.
If you could save them, would you?
Not for barfing.
This is not a barf bag.
Dramamine is celebrating its 75th
anniversary of both
Barf bags
and
and
the
the purpose.
invention of the barf bag.
Sickness drugs says it's so effective.
The last barf bag. Wow. That is weird.
Thank you. So in just 3 weeks, this has already had amazing results, impressions. New users to our website was not 51%, it's up 51% versus the period right before it. The click-through rates, the brand interest, and the Amazon sales were the first to pop. You can watch the full film on thelastbarfbag.com. It's very enjoyable and a bit of history about aviation, which is interesting. But just an amazing collaboration and something that, if we weren't at the point we were with the brand, I'm not even sure we would have said yes, but we had so much traction with everything and had so much trust in our agency that we said yes like the minute we saw it. It was a big leap to ditch the matching luggage of paid and owned, and you saw, I've shown you everything kind of a year's time of what we've done, and it doesn't all look like it came from the exact same brand, but I think the personality, the tone, and who the brand is really shines through no matter how it was executed, and that was our plan. And what we realized is creativity is an economic multiplier, so the more creative you can be and obviously still stay true to the brand, it maximizes your money, you get earned, and you just kind of punch above your weight, which was amazing. We had enormous brand growth over this period of time, 40% increase in sales. Our share jumped from 58, now we're 65 in motion. We're 27% share in nausea, which is the even better number. And our ROI has been extremely strong on this. So we use Keen Decision Systems to measure our total campaign ROIs. We measure not only the year one in-year ROI, but also what you get for the out years. So you're like driving the equity of the brand. And there was a 16% increase literally in less than 2 years. So I leave you with this, and the llama leaves you with this. Encourage creativity, stay curious, and be courageous. Thanks.
Thank you, Randi. We have time for questions about the campaign, about llamas in general.
Hey, Randi, Barrett Roberts. We were just talking in the elevator. Post-COVID, campaigns and brands just kind of said goodbye to human insights, and you guys had such a good one about the humiliating moment of throwing up. How did you guys get to that human insight and then build everything off of that?
The insight was not on a creative brief, I will tell you, or maybe it was on the creative, but it wasn't on our brief. We really just shared with the agency of what it feels like when you have this problem, and how do we relate to the consumer, but also we showed all the past work, and we were actually making the problem feel more like a problem. We were focusing so much on the problem and not enough on the solution, and we told them, like, we really want to focus on the solution. And so I think where they used that was using that universal truth of, like, everyone knows the feeling. You don't have to set up what it feels like. Like, the second you can see it, and then the llama was just so perfect because they were like, let's make this funny character be that feeling instead of showing people like this, and it just kind of came to life.
How has the
Randi, this was a really fun program. Obviously, love the Drama Llama, but I saw that you did a lot of experiential stuff, so I wanted to hear a little bit more about that. Obviously, there was the exhibit in Soho. How long are these activations going up, and what other components were there?
Yep. So the film was obviously a great tool, but the film was a conduit to just get to really blast earned media, and so the idea needed to be accompanied by other things that would drive earned. So the ideas that won out were this barf bag museum in Soho, New York. It was a one-day pop-up. So all the press you saw off of that was the pop-up plus the PR agency kind of driving outreach. Of course, it was the day that it was literally like a torrential downpour in New York City. But it was a one-day pop-up. It got press. It got local press. And then we also did the microsite where we sold those like alternate barf bags. The agency also did that. You saw the blinking lights, like the film screening. That was done in Chicago. So we work with FCB. FCB Chicago is our agency that developed this. They did things in Chicago to attract local media there. That was the extent of the experiential. It really was, I think someone said it here, like, we don't care if people actually come to the event. We care if it gets talked about. And that was the point of it. We did, because you're in New York and Soho, you do get people walking in, which was really, really fun. And then it also kind of dovetailed into the press, even talking about like normal people just being in a barf bag museum, where we had the collectors, we had the real collectors' bags, in the museum.
Randi, Prestige has a lot of brands, a number of other legacy brands. Are you going to take this tactic? Are you going to take this tactic to the others?
Yes, so we've actually, a lot of the brands have already gone through a bit of a transformation, maybe not to the extent of the 75-year-old Dramamine brand and its impact, but Dentec has been reinvented. Goodies, which I didn't talk about today because Bear's in the room. So Goodies also has gone through a reinvention, and we have other brands. We have been doing a lot of this, especially working with our new agencies. And also like Fresh Eyes, even from a brand team perspective of looking at, especially our OTC medicine brands, like we don't have to be boring. We don't have to be about problem solution, and how do we kind of rethink our brands?
Hi, Andrea Fisher, Bayer. I booed, sorry, calling myself out. So talking about taking us through the history of Dramamine and the huge decline in sales you saw during COVID, internally, how were you all able to make the decision, as I'm sure we've all had this issue as brands before and marketers, where we see that steep decline at some point for some reason, and it's really hard to get the organization to put their faith and money back into that business to bringing it back up to the top. So how were you able, before you developed this plan, to rally the business internally to get the sell-in to make sure that you kind of put the dollars, because it seems like it was quite an extensive campaign that you built out with quite a lot of dollars behind it. So how were you guys able to sell that through?
Yeah. So I think the first thing was the brand did start coming back, right? So travel rebounded. And so I think once it started coming back, maybe there was a bit of it looked like, wow, Dramamine's the fastest growing brand in the company, but it really was just recouping like everything that we had lost. So we did have that momentum, and the numbers kept looking really good. The second thing is, I mentioned Keen at the end, and we had just started working with Keen right before we did the llama. And the Keen, which is a marketing mix model of sorts, actually showed that the ROI on Dramamine, even before we did the llama, was really strong. And so we were actually like, wow, that's really strong. And it was totally unexpected, because it's a very problem solution for a small bit of people kind of problem. And that was the second thing. And then I know this looks like a lot of money, but I have to tell you, I've worked on many brands that have like much more money than this brand. And it's just, one is, I think, the llama, and the TikTok was not, that's organic TikTok with a little bit of boost. The rest was like a regular campaign. And this last bit was really like a partnership also with the agency. So they did a lot of things for us as well, because it was kind of like this shared amazing project for both companies.
One last one.
So not a question, more compliment, because you mentioned in the testing, the llama did not pass, but you decided to go with that. I think it's like big courage of you, and I think the agency will love you for it. I don't know how many campaigns we have killed in research, because we don't trust our instinct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think because my brands didn't have, maybe money that other brands at the company had, and also because we didn't want to spend, we were being a little cheap on our testing. We were like, okay, let's do a test that gets us what we need, but maybe we don't need like the big giant like ad copy test. And so a lot of my brands use this qual methodology. We happen to really like it because we like to hear the backstory and not just look at like numbers. And that's when that came through. And I have to say, like, everyone on the team had their favorite, idea. There was not one person on the team that left after hearing the qualitative saying we were going to do something else. It was like, it was so obvious. And the brand team at Prestige, like, we make the decision, and no one above me was really sitting there scrutinizing the quant, and so we were able to make the decision.
Randi, welcome back. Thank you. That was wonderful.
Thanks.